meaning that we talked about, but fairly easy. But I have another question. Is it possible that one meaning of the universal pursuit of for beauty is a shadow on a material level of a desire on a spiritual plane to grow for God?
Well, it's hard to say whether it's the shadow because it depends on the motivation. You see, if some beautiful architecture, let's say a cathedral is built, which is beautiful, well, that cathedral is, you could say, the material shadow of spiritual beauty, because the motivation in building it may have been a reverence for God. But too much of what passes for beauty on a material level nowadays is motivated by influencing people and exerting some kind of attractive influence on them, and perhaps sexual and manipulative and all sorts of things. So whether something beautiful in the material world is a shadow of spiritual beauty depends on the motivation and the objective to which it is utilized. You can have a prostitute who is very beautiful physically and uses cosmetics expertly, but you couldn't say that her beauty is the shadow of spiritual beauty, right?
Right.
So it all depends on the motivation. The right motivation is very important. You know the saying that when the wrong man does the right thing, then the right thing works the wrong way. Now, if something or someone is beautiful with the wrong motivation, it will work the wrong way, and we cannot really consider it to be the shadow of spiritual beauty.
Okay, thank you. That was very helpful.
You're welcome, Linda.
Hello, Dr. Hora. This is Roberta.
Yes, Roberta.
I would like you to clarify for me the idea of, we seem to think on a human level that beauty is appearance. It takes a form that we can see. And I would like you to clarify the non-dimensional beauty, what is spiritual beauty, because it seems that just something you can't see. I'm not clear on appearance and beauty taking form and spiritual beauty.
Well, of course, you know that we don't speak about what should be or what shouldn't be, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
If I understand your question correctly, you're really asking, how can we see invisible beauty?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking? All right. So then how can we see non-dimensional qualities and values and ideas?
And that I don't know.
You don't know? Have you been studying metapsychiatry long enough?
Well, I would think you would have to see it through a different faculty.
That's right.
Spiritual awareness.
That's right.
And the ability to see beauty would then, we would have to be spiritually aware to see spiritual beauty.
Of course.
Therefore, the beauty that we see is the beauty of appearance, because we judge by appearance.
The beauty we see with our eyes.
with our eyes.
Yes, of
Beauty
course.
of appearance.
Right. But even if we look at beautiful things in this world with our eyes, the eyes cannot really see beauty. It is the spirit within that is aware of beauty. Suppose you look at a beautiful sunset, right?
Yeah.
Over Newport Beach. Now, the sunset is material, but the beauty is spiritual. Now, you're looking with your eyes at the sunset. Now, your eyes don't know the difference between a beautiful sunset or just an ordinary sunset. It is your soul that has the aesthetic perceptivity and awareness. So if you look at a beautiful piece of art, and you've been teaching art, you know the eyes don't see art, the eyes see light and shadows. It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profited nothing. The living soul has the faculty of aesthetic appreciation. It's not the brain, it's not the optic nerve, it is not the eyes. There is an expression, eyeball to eyeball, you know, but that's nothing. It's just a naive kind of phrase. You have to realize that the eyes cannot see beauty.
As a former art teacher, we try to cultivate children to see beauty.
Yes.
And in light of what you just said, how could you help someone anyway, child or adult anyway, see beauty?
Well, by setting an example and drawing their attention and awakening with them the faculty of aesthetic appreciation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Hora, this is Michael.
Yes, Michael.
What is it that soul sees that incarnates beauty as opposed to what it sees when it calls it truth or calls it peace or calls it love? What is beauty?
Well, beauty consists of a certain quality which uplifts the spirit, and it is appreciated. Harmony, symmetry. It's hard to put it into words. Everybody, more or less, knows what is beautiful. Of course, there are people who have not been sufficiently awakened to aesthetics, and they may not know it, or they are too preoccupied with material objects that they cannot see beauty. I have been in the company of some people in very beautiful places, and they couldn't see the beauty, even if it was pointed out to them, because they were too preoccupied with some other issues in their lives. So there must be a receptivity, and there must be an awakening to aesthetic appreciation.
Thank you. Dr. Hora?
Yeah.
Larry.
Yes, Larry.
Many of us in this room, and I included, have spent much of their life viewing beauty in a self-concernatory fashion. And as we are increasing our aesthetic appreciation and our spiritual understanding of beauty and glory for God. The experience of running into the old habit and the seductiveness of someone else coming up and viewing personal look, personal personality, or characteristics in a beautiful way is sometimes a difficult to deal with. And I'm just wondering if you can give any advice or suggestions on how to meet and deal with the seductiveness of falling back into the old pattern of sensualism, self-confirmatory ideation, and things when we run across the old patterns of dealing with beauty.
Well, Larry, you are asking a very good question. Now, suppose we see someone very good looking, elegantly dressed, and we say to ourselves, well, this guy is beautiful and I envy him. Now, if we are envying, are we seeing beauty or are we seeing something else? I remember once I was standing with a psychotherapist who happened to have a very ugly red beard. And another psychotherapist joined us as we were standing there in a library. And he comes over to this fellow and says, you know, I envy you your red beard.
Mark of good psychiatry.
Now, what was this man seeing? He said, he gave the impression that he sees that ugly red beard as something beautiful. And then he says, I envy you your beard. Now, do you think that he was seeing beauty?
I have a feeling he wasn't.
No, if you envy, you see, it is impossible to envy beauty. Is that clear? What makes it impossible to be envious of beauty?
I thought wasn't clear to some people here. Repeat that.
If that red beard were really beautiful, would it be possible to say that you envy it?
No, you would just appreciate it.
You just appreciate it. Right. Nobody can envy a sunset. Or, as you see, spiritual qualities cannot be envied. And that is also a pretty good way of judging whether we are really seeing beauty or we are seeing some kind of a material quality which could be acquired or something. If it is something that you can envy, then you're not really seeing beauty.
The other side of the same coin is when someone comes up and appreciates beauty within you or your attractiveness or the way you look.
Yes.
And that then will often seduce the ego and into a self-confirmatory type of a thinking or just away from. I know personally when someone comes up and is real heavy with compliments or something, it's kind of difficult not to be seduced away from a spiritual view of the world.
Yes, that's right. Compliments are very dangerous because we are liable to believe it. But we have to know that we cannot take credit for anything that is really good which is manifesting itself through us because it belongs to God. We cannot produce anything genuine as beautiful or intelligent or harmonious. It is God who is manifesting himself through us in those qualities. Therefore, if you are spiritually mature, you are safe from the seductiveness of thinking in terms of taking credit for anything genuinely good, which is manifesting itself through you. So it's very important to attain this spiritual maturity. That is a great protection from becoming vain or proud or self-confirmatory in our thinking.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, we had this morning, and Linda had two pictures that gave rise to the single questions here. One was a picture of Blue Shield.
Yes,
They have heard of Blue Shield.
yes,
Perfect. From something called the magazine front page
yes,
at the show that around. And the other was a picture of Mrs. Eddie.
yes,
And she compared the two and asked whether in the audience what they could see a difference.
yes,
It seems to me that there was some confusion in it, as if Mrs. Eddie was supposedly manifesting a spiritual beauty, and Brooke Shields is more sensible material beauty. Now the question is, can we actually make such a division? And you just see, there's even Blue Shields that my own sense manifests in beauty.
yes,
And beauty is spiritual.
Yes.
Physical manifested.
yes. But perhaps a good way to tell is if you can envy something, then it is not spiritual. If you see spiritual qualities, whoever it may be, you will not be able to envy it. You will just appreciate it.
Dr. Hora, does this mean that the beauty then is in the eye of the beholder, such that one person may look at Brooke Shields and appreciate beauty, and another may look at Brooke Shields and envy her?
That's right. Well, of course, there are people who have a very limited capacity of discerning spiritual qualities. And then they see things from a material standpoint and invariably become envious or maybe sexually aroused or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, Dr. Hora, this is Anne.
Yes, Anne?
Linda had a very illuminating story which she shared with us, which is the old fable of Beauty and the Thief.
Yes,
And she says that there were two things to notice. One is that the beast was already actually beautiful. And then the lad, or the young girl,
yes,
brought that beauty into expression.
uh-huh,
And that seems to be an interesting thing to understand. I was wondering, in terms of people's own struggle with the sense of being personally not beautiful and wanting to find a way to become beautiful,
yes,
they often seek interpersonal appreciation or ultimately love as a way of confirming to them or proving to them or
making them feel beautiful, evoking the beauty.
Yes.
And I wondered if you could share some comment about how an existentially valid or a spiritual way to work on an individual who is, for an individual who is troubled with a sense of being not personally beautiful. What would be the spiritual solution to that problem?
Yes. Well, every session in metapsychiatry could be considered a beauty parlor session. Because if you succeed in awakening an individual to understand that the way to love God is by learning to love being loving. Anyone who has learned to be loving with no strings attached will automatically become beautiful, whether young or old or whatever it is, entirely independent from the material structure and appearance. Anyone who learns the secret of loving to be loving becomes immediately beautiful. And that's the secret. Even the beast becomes beautiful when he awakens to the fact that he was created for the purpose of manifesting God's love with no strings attached. So you could say that the therapy session in metapsychiatry invariably makes people more beautiful. I remember an incident that was a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago. A group was ended, and they sort of went out in the elevator, went down, and they gathered in front of the building on the street, and they were just talking there after a group session. And a stranger passed by, and he stopped and was marveling at them and said, "What is this, a charm school?" He thought that these people have just come out from a charm school, because he noticed that they are more beautiful than usually a group of people would appear to be. So beauty is an awakening of love in the consciousness of an individual. That's the best way to be beautiful. Learning to love being loving. You see, this is objectless love. Objectless love makes everyone beautiful. Does everyone understand what is meant by objectless love?
No, this is Fern, Dr. Vern.
Hi, Fern.
Hi. Could you speak a little more about that? Because it occurred to me too that he awakening now can consciousness develop the expression of beauty. And it seems that the judgmentalness and the desire to compare and envy must be healed in that process.
Absolutely, of course, but more than that, the idea that we can only love if there is something to love or somebody to love. If there is no object, then there is no love. This is the naive assumption, both within and outside of psychoanalysis, that love is only possible if it is directed at an object. And this is generally accepted. You must have an object to love. Now, metapsychiatry introduces a point of view which says, if you love a person or a place or a thing, that is counterfeit love, because you only love these things in order to get something out of it for yourself. So object love is not really love, but it's a form of manipulation. Therefore, it doesn't make you beautiful. As a matter of fact, it can make you ugly. But objectless love is the love of God. You see, God cannot be an object, because God is infinite love intelligence. So, when religious people speak about loving God, they are introducing either an anthropomorphic notion about God, or they are objectifying God. You can only love God if you make God either into a person or an object. Now, that kind of love is not love, because God cannot be an object, and God is not a person. The only way to love God is by loving to be loving, because then you are truly an image and likeness of God, manifesting the most fundamental attribute of God, which is love. So this is a very original insight which appeared some 10 or 15 years ago in metapsychiatry, which cannot be found anywhere in the literature. The love of being loving makes you beautiful because it makes you godlike.
Dr. Hora,
Yes.
just to Linda again. I've heard about object with love before and the love of God, but and you bring it up again, and I'm glad there's something that I don't really understand, and that is that, and while doing our best to understand objects with love and love with no strings attached, that there are certain individuals in our lives that we love.
Yes.
But it somehow doesn't seem right, to me at least, that with those few people that we genuinely love, that we really only want to get something from them. Could you think about what the difference is and what my confusion is or my lack of understanding?
When you love an individual, you are always seeking to get something from it. Even a good feeling. For instance, you can love your sister because it gives you a good feeling. But when you love being loving, you are glowing for God, and you are not seeking to be reciprocated, and you are able to respond to people in a most intelligent and beneficial way. See, a beneficent person can love other people. A beneficial presence loves being loving. It is like being here for others, being here for oneself, or being here for God. There is a tremendous difference here.
It's a valid alternative here. Do I understand that rather than loving, it's at least we're on the right track, that not loving another individual, but appreciating the individual?
Well, appreciate, what does the word appreciating mean? Well, what is the derivation of that word?
I don't know the heritage.
It comes from knowing the price. Appreciating means it has something to do with price, which means being aware of the value of something or someone. Appreciation means being aware of the value of something or someone. So you appreciate, which means that you understand, you're aware that someone is precious, maybe precious to you. But still, if you are spiritually mature, you love being loving for God's sake, not for yours.
Quality.
Yes.
If I think that when I grow up I want to be like Dr. Hora, does that mean that I'm not seeing the beauty of Dr. Hora, but I'm seeing something else?
That's right. You may envy my red beard, which I don't have.
It's needed to see the truth.
Yeah. You see, envy can only exist in a material view of reality. In the kingdom of God, there are no envious people.
Dr. Gordon, this is a loner.
Yes, Ilona.
Yeah, I think I just lost it. Would that mean that if in fact you were envious of somebody's spiritual maturity, if you will, if that's your label for it, that you're envious of your maturity, that you would then really envying something else like your perception of their status within a certain group or that kind of thing?
Right, that's correct. You're welcome.
Dr. Gordon with Anna.
Yes, Anna.
I'd like to go back to the elegant gentleman from Heel. I'm still a little confused about the physical appearance versus beauty.
Yes.
We talked about looking from the viewpoint of the eye wholeness and what can be involved and not beauty. Then one person could look at the gentleman and appreciate the style and the God,
Yes.
the form.
Yes.
Another person could look at that and envy that and want that for himself.
Right.
My question is from the viewpoint of the gentleman had is manifesting in character.
Yes.
Yet you be manifested. The other people are interpreting and viewing it, but his physical appearance or the elegance and the style that's itself a spiritual manifestation.
Not necessarily. It depends whether this gentleman is a student of metapsychiatry or not. If he is an advanced student of metapsychiatry, he will be interested in manifesting harmony and quality in every possible way that is available to him. and he will not be proud of himself. He will be grateful to God that these qualities are available to him. You see?
Yes, that clarifies it.
You're welcome.
Dr. Hora, this is Alexandra.
Yes, Alexandra.
It seems that because we don't envy things like the sunset or flowers or animals or the ocean,
Yes,
we appreciate the beauty of these things rather than feel any envy.
right.
That it may be that these things are an automatic expression of the consciousness of God. And when it comes to people, to human beings, that we need to realize that we are actually expressions of the consciousness of God. And if we can see that, then we will only express beauty and only see beauty in others the same way as we can appreciate it in nature.
That's right, Alexandra. Very beautifully expressed. Yes. This is the meaning of the commandment, love thy neighbor as thyself. If you can see yourself as a spiritual being, then you will be able to see others the same way. And that is of a great value.
Thanks, Dr.
You're welcome.
I'm George. Harry.
Who?
Harry. Oh, no.
Yeah. Could you spell it?
P-E-R-I.
Oh, Perry, yes. Okay, Perry, go ahead.
Okay. How can I stop wanting to have my love reciprocated?
How can you stop wanting to have your love reciprocated?
Yeah.
Well, you cannot just stop it, but you can become interested in something that is much better and more important for your fulfillment and happiness. When you learn to love being loving, with no strings attached, then you will be free of the fear of unrequited love. And you will lose interest in the silly, mushy love song on the radio.
I still don't understand why it hurts.
It hurts. Well, when we are suffering, it is always a sign that we want something. Perry, you only suffer from what you want and what you don't want. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
So if you will study a little more of metapsychiatry, you will get liberated from such vulnerability.
Yeah.
I still have a question here. Before we started the meeting, is it possible to be as to be attractive and beautiful?
Of course it is, but if you are more interested in beauty, then attractiveness is not important. You see, attractiveness is a desire to influence.
I see. To have people look at you.
Right.
To attract.
That's right. Attract attention, attract admiration, exercise power over others. So either you are on the spiritual path and then you're losing interest in these things. You cannot serve two masters, as the Bible says, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Hora, Bill,
Yes, Bill.
could you help me with the idea of being loving, of just being loving, period, without looking for some kind of result? Thing that I always look back to say, well, I'll be loving and always look at different man.
I'll get something out of it.
Right, as a sign or an effect. It seems almost impossible to just say I will be loving, period.
Yes. Well, if you will understand what it means to be here for God, and many people are wrestling with this idea and finding it very difficult to really be here for God. Once you discover the value of being here for God, not for religious reasons, but for existential reasons, you know what we mean by that?
That would be like that.
Yes, it gives you PAGL. You live in the land of PAGL.
That seems like it's more a result. Like they say, I yearn for God to be a loving presence, so I can be a beneficial presence and of love.
Yeah, well, that couldn't hurt.
So that would be a valid way to look at it.
Well, there is an even more valid way to look at it, because if you learn to be here for God and to love being loving, then you are fulfilling the purpose of your existence, because that's what God wants. That's what we were created for. And that is existential fulfillment. And that makes a lot of sense, don't you think?
Yes. What occurred, I noticed that what occurred many times, I say, I love it. And that I'll look back and say, gee, I'm a beneficial situation to take what they seem to take away my PAGL.
It takes away your PAGL?
Well, it's as if I kind of like looking at, oh, look what I did, or look what occurred.
Oh. No, you don't do anything. You just allow God to work in you. It is the Father who worketh in you to do and to will of His good pleasure.
So we need not to take credit for the fact that we are beneficial.
No, it's impossible to take credit for it. It is a blessing.
Helpful, thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Hora, this is Bert.
Yes, Fern.
We think about beauty, spiritual beauty in the existential fulfillment class. We also spoke about freedom,
Yes.
clarity of that it's difficult to know spiritual beauty without knowing freedom.
Yes.
Is that correct? Is there a correlation here?
There is a correlation between all the spiritual qualities and values and ideas. These are just aspects of the attributes of God. And we are created for the purpose of manifesting the qualities of God. This is our mission in life.
So being beautiful for God is also liberating and free.
Absolutely. That's right, Fern. That's correct.
And it's not encumbered by interpersonal complexity or handling things or dealing with other people's reactions. None of that really comes under that kind of beauty.
That's right, Fern. Very well put.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Dr. Bartlett, beginning,
Yes, Jenny.
There's been a couple of times this morning that you brought up the idea of spiritual maturity.
Yes.
I would be interested if you could give us some comments. It would seem that spiritual maturity would have to be with both the observer and the observed. Could you speak a little bit about spiritual maturity and how it affects for you?
Well, I won't do that because I would like to see you at the conference.
Well, I intend to be there.
Thank you.
That was Jan, wasn't it? That was Jan?
Yeah.
Thank you, and your husband. The gospel legislation.
Yes,
Yeah, we'll talk about that a great deal at the conference.
that's right.
That'll be the theme, and we will explore that.